Hi guys, it's Michelle with Reception Bytes, and I am back again for another video. Sorry that I've been gone for a few days. This is a very busy time of year for almost everyone, and between work and school and everything else, it's just time gets away from me. But I do have a week off, and I'm planning on doing a video every day, maybe two some days, and so I'm back again. And let's get started. And to the person that was horrendously hateful in the last video, I just wanted, and was extremely offended that I show my picture before the video starts. And there you go. There I am. Yep, all about me. Okay. Anyway, we'll always have haters. So I don't generally pay attention to people that say negative comments because you're always going to have it, and I have very thick skin, but that one just kind of got on my last nerve. Anyway, let's continue here, and we're on November 12th, and I do realize we're very far behind, but we're doing this in depth, and the next couple of days we're going to make a lot of headway into catching up with these posts. Apparently on 8chan he is still posting Q. Of course I say he, but there's nobody that knows for sure who he is or she is. So realize that when I say he, I don't know for a fact that it's a he. But anyway, let's continue on here with this post. We've got some interesting things today and some interesting things coming up. I think probably during every video there's one or two things that are really pertinent that stand out and probably catch my interest, if not yours. So anyway, let's get going. So Q writes here, "Patriots don't sleep." I don't think I need to comment on that. I think that he's talking about people being awake. And obviously. The next one says, 40,000 foot view necessary to understand. U.S./Saudi Arabia/global events. Now, I researched this because I thought that there was something more to this than really met the eye. But I've come to the conclusion that Q is just stating that, you know, if you're 40, oops, sorry, I slapped a cord here and just about, okay. If you're 40,000 foot up in an airplane, you can see the big picture. You can see everything. I'm sure most, if not all of you, have flown in an airplane, and you know, you look down and you can see everything. And you know, you can see the way off into the horizon. Now, when you come closer down, the further down you get, the more myopic your view becomes. So I think that's what Q is saying here, that in the past it's been necessary for us, you know, and meaning those of us that are really looking at this and trying to figure it out, it's been necessary for us to have the 40,000 foot view and kind of look at it as if we're up in an airplane trying to get the big picture. But now, from what I understand, you know, he's bringing us down closer to the ground, giving us a myopic view. We're going to start looking at some stuff more in depth. That's what I believe that he is saying. And from the posts that follow, that would be the conclusion that I would come to. Now, he's saying, big picture necessary to understand the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and global events. Paint the picture. So that was necessary to understand the events that were going on in the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and globally in order for him to paint the picture for us. He needed to give us that big picture view. But now he's going to decrease the altitude. Decrease altitude. We will not fly that high again. So he's telling us we're not going to be flying way up there now. We're not going to be looking at the big picture. We're going to come down closer to the ground, and we're going to look at things more specifically. When you're high up in an airplane, the higher you get, you can't discern cars and people and so forth. When you're just taking off and rising, you can see people on the ground, you can see cars and whatever, but the higher you get, you can't discern any of that. But decrease the altitude, when you come in for a landing, and you can pick out buildings and pools in people's yards and cars and all sorts of stuff. So that's all he's saying here. I've had people give all these really complex explanations for what he was saying, but they don't make sense to me. This is what he's saying. I believe that with all my heart. So from now on, we're going to be focused on the specifics. We will not fly that high again. Q's message will now follow a new format of focused specifics. Now, Q says, the higher the altitude, the greater the risk of conspiracy. And then he puts ST period. I had a bit of a time with that. I looked at that quite in depth for a long period of time. Now, so he's saying the higher the altitude, the greater the risk of conspiracy ST. Now, ST, I would think, stands for street. But, and this is what I found. Just one second while I am going to be updating the RAM in my computer this week, so it will get much faster. Okay, there is on Twitter something by the name of Conspiracy Street. Now, if he's referring to this, I don't know. This is just me surmising, and I might be right, I might not be right. And again, for that person that thinks that I think it's all about me, I don't. That's why I state time and time again that we need everyone. We need everyone looking at this. We all have information that other people don't have. We all have points of view that other people don't have. And that's why we're all needed. I've always said that if two people agree on absolutely everything, then one of them isn't necessary. So I don't care if you agree with me or not, but if you disagree, tell me why and put it in the comments below so that we can all benefit from that. It helps us all. Anyway, so on Twitter, there's this Conspiracy Street, and it says, the truth is much harder to find than one could imagine. That is the reason for Conspiracy Street. We give you the facts about what is going on in the U.S. Now, whether that's related to this post or not, I don't know. If any of you to me that doesn't just quite feel like the fit, but if any of you have another idea or think of what it could be, please let us know in the comments below. Again, it doesn't feel quite like the right fit there, but anyway, I'm going to move along. Now, it says many cannot / will not swallow. And I think what he's saying there is that the information that's coming out here, the information dump that has occurred, many cannot or will not swallow it because they're too brainwashed by the mainstream media and the narrative that has been propagated for a very, very long time. And that's what they're locked into. That's what they're committed to. And they don't want to hear any alternative way of understanding the things that are going on. Now, he says, what is no such agency dash Q group? Well, it's those with Q clearance in the NSA, National Security Administration. Or is that National? Yeah, NSA. Gosh. Okay, I'm having a brain fart right here. NSA. Is it agency or administration? It is agency. Gosh, I knew that wasn't right. I'm sorry. Have you ever had that happen where you've just had a brain? I call them brain farts, which is not very nice, but that's what it is. I don't know. It's like you know something. You've known it for years and years and years, but all of a sudden you can't remember it. So that's what just happened to me there. Okay, who has clearance to the full picture? Well, obviously those with Q clearance. And he says, important. He said, SIS is good. Now, the only thing I can think of for SIS is Senior Intelligence Service. I'm not sure if that's it or not. That's what I think it is, but somebody else may have another thing that they think that is. I have seen some other explanations which I didn't agree with. Some people are just ridiculous with this stuff. You really have to use your common sense, and you can't just pull one of these posts out from all the others and try to interpret it, because they all kind of go together. And, one post informs the next post. So if you're not looking at them as a group, you're not able to discern it properly. So some people just get ridiculous with this. They'll pull out one post and they'll start trying to decode it. And it's ridiculous, because if you've read everything that went before, you know that's not right. So anyway, I'm not 100% sure that SIS is Senior Intelligence Service, because that's the first time this has risen in these posts. So if somebody else has a better answer, please put it below. And then he says ADMR, which is Admiral Michael S. Rogers, head of the NSA. Now, which makes sense. He's talking about the NSA up here and who has clearance to the full picture. And certainly Michael S. Rogers would have clearance to the full picture. He would have Q clearance, and he's also considered a senior intelligence service. That's why I think that all of this makes sense to me. The only thing that doesn't kind of fit in with the rest is this conspiracy street. I don't know what that is talking about. So, what agency is at war with clowns in America? And of course, clowns in America stands for the CIA, and that would be the NSA. The NSA is at war with clowns in America. How does POTUS shift the narrative? Well, by routing out rogue CIA agents in the media and getting control of the media. Now, we know that the media is preponderantly Democratic. I think it's 7-3, like there's 70% of media. It could even be higher than that. It might be, I talked about this in another video, but again, I can't remember the exact numbers, but most in the media are Democrats. Like the huge majority of those who are talking heads are Democrats, not Republicans. So of course that would change the narrative, because they're going to have a slant. And he says new age of enlightenment, and I believe when he's talking about an age of enlightenment, he's not talking about anything mystical here. He's talking about bringing things out in the open, out in the light, where people can examine them. Of course, there'll never be complete transparency. There's some things within a government and a administration or whatever that need to remain hidden for purposes of national security, and we understand that. But I think that what he's saying is he wants to bring the things that can be brought out in the open, he wants out in the open. That's how I would interpret that. He says 80% covert, 20% public. Now, I'm not sure whether he's saying we should have 80% covert and 20% public, or if he's saying at the present now 80% of what happens is covert, meaning hidden, and 20% is out in the open, it's public. I'm not sure if he's saying that or what exactly he's saying. I would assume that he is saying that right now 80% of what happens in the government is covert and only 20% comes out in the public. That is what I would assume. What has occurred over the last several months? Well, purges. We've had purges. We've had all sorts of indictments. We've had the purges in Saudi Arabia. And also while I'm thinking of it right now, in the description of this video, I am going to put a link. I don't know if I can make the link active, but you can copy it and paste it into your browser and get this PDF. And it's some of you may be interested, some of you may not, but it's this, okay? If you go, you'll have access to this. It's all of the indictments so far that have happened, who they are, and what and everything. I mean, it's got all the information. If you click on it, you can go to who these people are, and everything else. So that's going to be in the description of this video so that you can download it for yourself and peruse it at your will. I think that's important because, I mean, I could go through it, but that doesn't do anybody any good. That's something that you can do yourself, because some of you may be interested and some of you may say, well, it's enough for me to know that there's indictments happening. But that's what's been going on over the last several months. And he said C info leaks. And of course, C level is like a high level. Anyone at a C level is like at an executive type level. And I put, this is my, actually I need to put that in red so you know, because I don't want to mislead anyone. I would say that that's referring to WikiLeaks perhaps, because there's been all these info leaks and most of them have come from WikiLeaks, also from Snowden. So anyway, and he says, then Q says operations, think Saudi Arabia plus. And then he says, just 1 second, I'm just going to take a drink really quickly here. Hopefully you don't hear that, but it's really dry in here. It's wintertime, and with the electric heat, it just makes it extremely dry. So, operations, think Saudi Arabia plus, CNN sale, question mark. Now, I wasn't really aware of the CNN sale, but apparently there's been an ongoing thing with this. I'm not going to get into it here, but what I am going to do is suggest that if you want to know about this, what's been going on with this, that you can Google it, because it's out there. Well, I wouldn't actually even suggest Google. I would suggest DuckDuckGo, so that whatever you're searching for does not get into the hands of people that don't need to see what we're searching for. I really don't think that it's anybody's business what I search for. Anyway, okay. What companies received large cash injections by clowns in America, which of course is the CIA? And then it's saying public. It's talking about public companies. So I'm going to link to this article, which is going to give us this information. And I'll close these down so that it'll go a little faster. Okay. The Central Intelligence Agency has its own investment capital arm, and it's been pumping money into some of Silicon Valley's most innovative companies for years. I think we've all been aware of that, but for those of you who may not be aware of it, this is very good information. In QTEL, named after Q in the James Bond films, invests in QTEL, named after Q in the James Bond film, invests in companies that can deliver useful technology to the intelligence community within 36 months. But since it's structured and an independent nonprofit organization, it's rather unique. It's a VC firm that doesn't really need to make money back for outside investors, and it can tap into the deep pockets of the intelligence black budget. Its involvement in a startup is also a stamp of approval of sorts, often bringing in more money from other VC firms to the tune of $11 to $15 for every dollar the CIA kicks in. In QTEL, typically does not disclose the amount it invests, although a Washington Post story from 2005 says the funding is often relatively small, $500,000 to $2 million investments. I don't consider a $2 million investment small. I guess it would be if you're talking about a Google or a Twitter or Facebook, but I don't really consider that a small investment. Here are some of the cutting-edge companies that the CIA has found useful. Cylance is using artificial intelligence to analyze and kill malware well before it becomes a problem. Cylance built a product that can analyze and determine whether a file you are about to open is malware and then stop it from executing, all in less than a second. Instead of using lists of known bad software, of signatures of malware, Cylance's products use artificial intelligence and machine learning to determine what's bad and what's not, especially when phishing email scams are still the #1 method hackers use. Cylance software is a game changer in the cybersecurity space, which is probably why it's currently valued at over $1 billion. The product, Cylance Protect, is used exclusively in the enterprise for large corporations, banks, and government clients. Cylance told Business Insider it would soon be launching a product for regular users as well. In-Q-Tel invested in the company in 2016. Orbital Insight analyzes the millions of satellite images being beamed back to Earth to answer all kinds of interesting questions. Let's say you're a big retailer like Walmart or CVS and you want to get an understanding of how many people are shopping at your stores. One method for figuring this out is to analyze the number of cars in the parking lot, which is one thing Orbital Insights can do. The company can figure out things such as how certain stores are performing, how many people visit a store, and determine how busy it is at certain times of the day, and so on. The satellite analysis can answer other questions as well. What intersections are the busiest at rush hour? Or perhaps, how is China's economy doing? Orbital Insights has attracted plenty of interest beyond the CIA, which has chipped in $5 million. Oh, gee, I thought the investments were only like $500,000 to $2 million. Chipped in $5 million here. In 2016, around that same time, Google Ventures led an investment round of $15 million. Excuse me. Okay. I think this is pronounced sci-fi. Built a tethered drone that can monitor an area for days at a time. Sci-fi, pronounced sci-fi. Okay, yeah, it is the proper pronunciation. Has a tethered drone that can keep a watchful eye from up to 10,000 feet above its base station, or it can help with long-distance communications. The company has a patented microfilament tether to keep the drone connected to a ground control station where it gets all its power and communications from. So, unlike the average drone, the ground-powered persistent aerial reconnaissance and communications can be launched and stay in the area for a much longer time. It's outfitted with a high-definition camera that can shoot in night vision, which makes it ideal for troops in the field who need to keep an eye on their base perimeter. The company also has a smaller pocket flyer drone that flies through doors and windows and which fits inside a soldier's cargo pocket. In-Q-Tel invested in Sci-Fi in 2015. This is a little rabbit trail and a little aside, but so strange. Well, if you've read my book, you know what I've been involved in. And I once, this has to be probably 15 years ago, well before drones, or well before drones came out in public. And, well, it was probably longer than that now that I think about it. It was probably closer to 20 years ago. I had the strangest dream. And in my dream, I was up in the mountains and I was hiding from somebody important. And this thing came, and the people that I was with up in the mountains, there was a massive window that overlooked like a huge valley. We were on top of a mountain, and they told me to come away from the window, and then they started screaming, "Get away from the window, get away from the window." And all of a sudden, I'm absolutely mesmerized because I see this little dot on the horizon, and it comes closer and closer and closer, and then it comes right up to the window. And the first time I saw a drone, I can't even tell you what went through me, because it was exactly what I'd seen in my dream. And I had never seen a drone before in my life, and I had no idea what it was. All I knew was that whatever this was could see me and gather information about where I was. Interesting. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just thought about it as I was going through here and thought I would mention it. Okay. Sorry, lost my place. Okay. I'm all in vacation mode, so I'm like all slowed down today. Blue Line Grid made a communication platform similar to Slack with security and compliance in mind. Blue Line Grid is giving government agencies the ability to communicate in much the same way startups and media companies are doing with the popular Slack app. Called Grid Team, the secure mobile collaboration platform offers messaging, image, and file sharing and instant conference calls for organization. It's mostly used by law enforcement and first responders to communicate. In-Q-Tel invested in the firm back in 2015. And this just, obviously it's not so much about the individual ones that we're looking at here, but to know that the CIA is investing in private companies, and they invested in Facebook, that's a known fact. They invested in Google, that's a known fact. They invested in, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Twitter, but I can't be 100% certain on that. So there's all sorts of technology that is developed by private citizens that the CIA thinks, we could use that either to spy on our own citizens, to spy on citizens overseas, to gather more information on private citizens. So that's what's going on, and it has been going on for a very long time. It's just now starting to come out into the open. Atlas Wearables created a fitness tracker that actually knows the specific exercise you are performing. Most fitness trackers know what your heart rate is or how many steps you've traveled. The Atlas wristband knows when you are doing a bicep curl or jumping on a box. The Austin, Texas-based Atlas Wearables originally launched on Indiegogo in 2014, where it raised more than $600,000 in funding. Now its fitness tracker is sold in sporting goods stores or on Amazon. Besides the band, it also has an app that acts as a personal trainer, which, just like the real thing, knows if you didn't do that last push-up. In-Q-Tel invested in Atlas in 2015. Now, that's interesting, and I did not realize that they had technology that was specific enough to tell exactly what exercise you were doing. Now, why they would invest in that and why they would need to know that, I don't know. I guess if agents wore that, they would know what they're doing. I don't know. Fueled can capture highly detailed three-dimensional imagery of rooms, objects, or people. Fueled sells a handheld hardware device called Scanify that can capture detailed three-dimensional scans in less than a tenth of a second. The tech can be applied to a variety of markets. Full face capture is being used to build customized eyewear, and crime scene data can be used to build a 3D models that can help investigators solve crime. How it would be useful to the intelligence community is unclear, but In-Q-Tel invested in late 2014. That's interesting. I mean, I could see where it would be extremely helpful for law enforcement, or all sorts of industries, actually. I also can see where it could be used for nefarious purposes as well. MindMeld is building voice recognition technology like Siri for everything. Apple has Siri, Microsoft has Cortana, Amazon has Alexa. MindMeld is providing the voice commands for everyone else. Backed by Google Ventures and Samsung Ventures, among others, MindMeld offers a tech that allows more than 1,200 companies to put voice commands into their apps, and will just be scratching the surface. Founder and CEO Tim Tuttle told Entrepreneur, the magazine, Jarvis, the voice-activated computer used by Tony Stark in the Iron Man movies, is only like 5 to 10 years away. In-Q-Tel invested in 2014. Snap DNA has a handheld device that can analyze DNA in minutes. Back in 2011, Navy SEALs killed Osama bin Laden at his compound in Pakistan. Did they? Did they really? When the team headed back to Afghanistan, each helicopter brought back DNA samples of the terror leader so they could confirm they got him. Is that what they did? Had they had the handheld device from Snap DNA, that later confirmation may not have been necessary. The Silicon Valley startup built a handheld battery-powered device that can analyze DNA within 5 minutes rather than hours or days on expensive machines in the laboratory. In-Q-Tel invested in Snap DNA in 2012. Sonitus offers a wireless two-way communications capability hidden inside the mouth. You may have seen spies in the movies with earpieces that allow them to communicate with their team, but Sonitus takes this to the next level. Their product goes inside the mouth, giving users incredible clarity even in the noisiest of environments. On its website, it shows special operators talking to each other while plummeting to Earth in a free-fall skydive, and the video demo shows how useful it could be for firefighters. In-Q-Tel invested in Sonitus in 2009. So, interesting, isn't it? Planeter sifts through massive data sets to allow users to track patterns or gain valuable insight from one software package instead of looking into a bunch of different databases. Planeter is one of Silicon Valley's most secretive companies, which can be explained somewhat by its deep relationship with U.S. military and intelligence clients. Spies are using Planeter software to link together the huge cache of data gathered by the CIA, DHS, NSA, and others. The military uses it to figure out whether a roadside bomb was built by a specific person. And even detectives with the LAPD are querying to understand criminal ties. Planeter has expanded to offer solutions for healthcare and financial firms. In-Q-Tel backed Planeter in 2005, so you can probably figure out how far advanced it is now. BBN Technologies allows troops overseas to quickly translate foreign languages. That could be very helpful. BBN Technologies is somewhat an outlier in the list of startups since it was founded in 1948, but it's no less innovative, having been the brains behind the early internet and the @ and email, among others, groundbreaking technologies. BBN, which was acquired by Raytheon in 2009, is a research and development center that has built all kinds of cool gadgets for the military. The company's boomerang technology tells helicopter and ground vehicle crews if they are being fired at, along with the direction it came from, and its speech recognition tech helps troops to translate foreign languages in the field. In-Q-Tel invested in BBN in 2004. Keyhole was a tiny 3D mapping startup with technology so useful it is still on most smartphones in the world today. You may not know Keyhole Inc., but you may certainly know its technology. Founded in 2001, the Silicon Valley startup revolutionized satellite imagery with 3D maps, allowing users to fly over locations. The technology, called Earth Viewer, was used by troops in the Iraq War and in news broadcasts at the time. Google bought the company in 2004 and subsequently rolled the tech into its popular Google Earth and other mapping products. In-Q-Tel invested in the firm in 2003. Base's technology can extract critical information from documents written in a foreign language. Base's Rosette software can look at a foreign language in documents and translate it, while also going beyond the basics to identify relationships or determine whether what is written is of positive or negative sentiment. The technology is an obvious no-brainer for the intelligence community, which is in constant need of skilled translators who are U.S. citizens. In-Q-Tel invested in 2004. Oculus Labs stops people from spying on your computer screen. There are myriad ways for your computer to be spied on through the internet, but that doesn't mean you should forget about the old school method of someone sneaking up behind you. Oculus Labs builds products to stop visual eavesdroppers on mobile and desktop devices. Instead of privacy screens that come down over a monitor, it's Private Eye and Chameleon software tracks where the user is looking and only displays what's on screen to them. If the user turns away, the display is masked. And while they are working, someone standing 2 feet away from the actual user will just see a bunch of gibberish on screen. In-Q-Tel invested in the firm in 2011. So that's it's interesting, and maybe I didn't need to go into every single one, but I think it's interesting, and I think it's kind of fascinating to know, what they're investing in. Okay, so the question was, what companies receive large cash injections by CIA? And these are public firms. And we just went over that. Of course, there's many that aren't on that list, and you can be sure of that. They only gave us the list that they don't mind us seeing. But you can just bet that there's a lot on that list that we have no idea about. Why? Because it's part of the agenda. Now, they're not going to invest in a company if they don't see a use for it in terms of their use. And that's to further their agenda by either spying on people, giving them intelligence, whatever. So that's why they do it. Of course, they're not just going to give money willy-nilly to companies. Who does it hurt? Well, it hurts everyone, because well, I don't think I need to explain that, why it would hurt everyone by investing in certain companies and pulling them out and giving them an advantage over all other companies. Who controls the mainstream media? Well, primarily the Democrats. As I said before, it's top-heavy in Democrats. And also, the CIA has their foot in there, and it's also owned by foreign interests, because we know that Prince Al-Walid bin Talal has interest in a great many of our media outlets. So, primary objective from the beginning, and he's telling us here, the POTUS discredit the MSM. So Q is telling us that it's been his primary objective from the beginning to discredit the mainstream media. He wants people to understand what they are, which is fake news, and it is fake news. It's totally biased. Although I would argue that I think every source of information is biased to some degree, and we all have to understand and realize that. But, you know, it's really obvious with the media. I mean, their bias is so obvious. I mean, honestly, you have to have most of your brain turned off to not see it. Okay, I just read that. Why is this relevant? Well, because POTUS must discredit them in order to get unbiased news out. But again, I say no news is truly unbiased. And if we think that, you know, once all this is routed out of the media, that we're going to get 100% of the story on everything, well, you can think again, because that's not going to happen. And you can be as positive as you want to be, but that will never happen. We will get perhaps closer to the truth. We will probably get more information and more clarity on what is happening in government, but will we ever get the 100% unbiased truth? I don't know. I don't know about that. How is information transmitted? Well, that's obvious. It's transmitted over airways, television, internet, radio, and person to person. How are people informed? 1 second here. That nice little breath there. That did me good. How are people informed? Television, internet, radio, person to person. Why was Sarah AC attacked? Now, okay, please somebody, because this drove me insane. Yesterday, I was looking at this and looking at it and looking at it, and I've been all over the internet trying to find who Sarah AC is. Now, I don't know, maybe somebody's going to tell me and I'm going to go, oh, you know, do one of those, I should have had a V8 moments and slap myself, because it's probably, you know, really self-explanatory, but I can't find it. I know Sarah Palin way back was attacked, hacked. I don't know, but if somebody knows the answer to this, please let me know before it drives me stark raving mad, because I really have tried. Why was Operation Mockingbird repeated? Now, of course, we know what Operation Mockingbird was, and, you know, that's where they were going to put... they did put CIA operatives in the media to influence how people thought about certain things. And that's what happened. That is still what's happening. And there's just no way of getting around that. I think we've all suspected it for a very long time, but now, I mean, Q is just out saying that that's what's happening. Why was it repeated? Why was Jason Bourne CIA dream repeated? Now, what he's talking about here, and I did have a link to that. I guess I didn't put it in here in this one because we visited this in the last video, but Jason Bourne, the last one, the company dream, very, very reminiscent, or it looks like it was based on the Facebook, and the CIA had placed, you know, Dream was CIA run, and so basically we believe that Q was saying that Facebook is CIA, and I think that many of us have suspected that. I'm still on Facebook. I need to get off. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So he's saying, why is that repeated? I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty obvious why the CIA would want to have their hand in Facebook. Really, because you can not only know about the person, you know about what they're posting, where they live, who their friends are, where they went to high school, where they work. You know everything. You know when they're on vacation, because people are stupid enough to post that on Facebook. You know where they're flying to. Everything. So, and if you've got a suspect and you look on their Facebook, you can tell everyone that they're connected to and who they talk to all the time, everything. So it's understandable why they want that. And then he says, think social media platforms. Well, we know that they're using our social media platforms. Of course they are. Who are the wizards and warlocks? Well, that's the NSA. What council do the wizards and warlocks control? I would say the NSA. I don't know what else it could be. If someone else has a different answer, please let me know. And then it says, think Snowden. Well, of course, Snowden was with the NSA. And it says, inside terms dropped. Alice in Wonderland. And Q is telling us that it's understood, that we already understand who Alice in Wonderland is. And he's already decoded that for us. It's Hillary and Saudi Arabia. Alice is Hillary. People that keep emailing me, people that keep emailing me with things, people that they think Alice could be. It's Hillary. It's Hillary. Q has told us that, and that's who it is. And Saudi Arabia. Snow White, he says it's understood, and Snow White is Snowden. And he's confirming that because all of, everyone on 4chan has been saying that Snow White is Snowden, and Q is replying. He's saying it's understood. You know that. You know who Snow White is. You know who Alice in Wonderland is. And Iron Eagle, of course, we visited this in our last video as well. And that is a 1986 movie. The basis of the fictional story is the film. In the film relates to the real-life attacks by the United States against Libya over the Gulf of Sidra, in particular the 1981 Gulf of Sidra incident. Now, what it has to do with exactly with what's going on right now, I don't know. So if someone else has more insight in that, then please comment. Godfather 3, I've seen a lot of definitions of who they think this is. I'm not sure. So I'm not going to comment on that. I know I've had a lot of people email me different things that they think it is. I'm not 100% convinced yet of any of them. So I'm just leaving that because I'd rather not say anything than mislead or whatever. So speed. Now, I think when he's talking about speed, because this one's a movie, this one's a movie, this one's a movie. I think speed is referring to the movie, and the basis of the fictional story in the film relates to real life. Okay, sorry. Oops. Well, oh man, I copied over this. This was the. I'm so stupid sometimes. Okay, this I thought I had put the what this movie was about here, but I didn't. But if you've ever seen the movie Speed, basically someone has put a bomb on board a bus, and they have to go at a certain speed, because if the speed drops below a certain level, the bomb will explode. That's what the movie's basically about. So how that relates to this situation, I don't know. But again, if anyone has any clues or ideas or thinks they know, please leave a comment. And Q says here, everything has meaning. Now, he says here, Disney is a distraction. Now, it wasn't very long after this post that a Disney executive was, I don't know if he was indicted or he was charged. I don't know, like what happened there. But there was a Disney, and I don't think I did put the article. Awesome. Here we go. Yeah, he was arrested. Top Disney executive arrested for operating a pedophile ring. And it goes into this. John Healy, a long-term employee of the family entertainment company, was arrested on 3 counts of lewd and lascivious acts on a child, according to Variety. Healy, 58, of Santa Clarita, is accused of abusing 2 underage girls, one of whom was 11 years old, approximately 10 years ago. The news of the senior executive's arrest comes days after police announced they have uncovered a huge pedophile ring at Disney World, Florida. Over 35 employees were arrested for alleged child rape offenses. The Disney employees included people from management, a concierge, a tour guide, and a ticket seller. Disney has downplayed the arrest, insisting that the theme park is so large that those arrested account for just a tiny percentage of its overall workforce. However, the arrest of the senior executive has led many to believe the pedophilia problem is systematic within the company. Daily Mail reports Healy was arrested on November 16th and released on $150,000 bail. Variety reported, according to an affidavit, one of the girls was 15 years old at the time of the alleged incident. The other victim was allegedly abused over a 4-year span, which started when she was 11. Healy pleads not guilty to the charges and vehemently denies the accusations, his lawyer told Variety. Disney said it acted swiftly and suspended Healy upon learning of the accusations late Friday. Immediately upon learning of this situation tonight, he has been suspended without pay until the matter is resolved by the courts, a Disney spokesperson said. Healy, who oversees the licensing of music from Disney films, faces just over 9 years in prison if convicted of the charges. Healy's Twitter bio states, Disney concerts and living to glorify God in all things. So that's that. And I've had other people, I've looked out there to see what other people are saying about that, and it doesn't seem, from what I've seen, that anyone has brought this up. But seeing as that was the 17th, did it say, that he was arrested, and this was on the 12th, I would say possibly that Q was letting us know that this was coming down the pipe and that it was a distraction. That's what I think. That's how I would interpret this. If I had to interpret it and my life depended upon it, that's how I would interpret it. If anyone else has something else that they think this could be, then please, by all means, comment. Now, here it says Senate and Congress equals puppets. Not all. Power shift. Now, I think here what he's saying is that the Senate and the Congress are just puppets. But not all of them are puppets because there's a power shift. That's what I think. I think it's pretty obvious what he's stating here. If you think it's not so obvious and you think you have a different interpretation, again, please let me know. Now, this is very interesting right here. He says, for God and country, for humanity, Geronimo, Q. Now, I put down here inside the brackets because the brackets mean something. Everything means something in these posts, everything. And inside the brackets, if you read just the parts that are inside the bracket, it says U.S. risk this week, God and country. So I think Q was telling us that that week, the week of November 12th, there was going to be a risk. Now, I don't know, I can't think offhand what might have happened that week or if anything did, but he didn't say something was going to happen. He said there was a risk of something happening. So, now, this is interesting. I don't care who you are, it's interesting. For God and country was used as a confirmation signal by U.S. Navy SEALs during the death of Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad, Pakistan. On his radio, the U.S. Navy SEAL responsible for killing bin Laden reported over a radio, "For God and country, Geronimo, Geronimo, Geronimo. After a pause, he added, Geronimo, EKIA, enemy killed in action. So let me read that one more time because it's important. Over here, Q has said, for God and country, for humanity, Geronimo, Q. Over here, for God and country was used as a confirmation signal. It's a confirmation signal. So is Q over here sending us a confirmation signal? What is he sending us a confirmation signal of? This confirmation signal was used by U.S. Navy SEALs during the death of Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad, Pakistan. On his radio, the U.S. Navy SEAL responsible for killing bin Laden reported over a radio, for God and country, Geronimo, Geronimo, Geronimo. After a pause, he added, Geronimo, EKIA, enemy killed in action. So here, he's saying, for God and country, for humanity, Geronimo, Q. Now, if you don't think that that's significant, I would beg to differ. I think that's highly significant. Now, what it means, I don't know. I think we all probably have our ideas, but interesting, very interesting to think about. Now, I'm going to go on to the next one here because it's short. And after the next couple posts, I'm going to break. And I am going to do another post tonight, another video tonight. I don't want to make them too long, so I am going to break them up. I could do 1 2-hour one, but it's a lot for someone to sit and listen to. And so this way you can break them up and listen to them when you have time. So let me continue here. Sunday, the 12th of November, Q says, warning, this is not a game. Direct attack today by New York Times / clowns in America. So Q is telling us on Sunday, November the 12th, that it's not a game. I was attacked today by the New York Times and the CIA. Okay? And then he says, do you believe in coincidences? And then he says, how many coincidences do you need before you believe? This is the biggest insider drop in the history of the world. Pray. Q. Now let's go out to the article that the New York Times wrote. Sorry, just closing these down so we have a little bit better speed here. Okay. Security breach and spilled secrets have shaken the NSA to its core. A serial leak of the agency's cyber weapons has damaged morale, slowed intelligence operations, and resulted in hacking attempts on businesses and civilians worldwide. Now remember, this is coming from the New York Times, which is highly biased, and Q is telling us that this is an attack on him personally and his administration by the New York Times and the CIA. And you know that the CIA, most of the CIA, is against Trump and are rogue agents at this point. From what Q has said, I'm not stating that this is my opinion. I'm stating that this is what Q has said. I have no idea. Washington. Jake Williams awoke last April in an Orlando, Florida hotel where he was leading a training session. Checking Twitter, Mr. Williams, a cybersecurity expert, was dismayed to discover that he had been thrust into the middle of one of the worst security debacles ever to befall American intelligence. Mr. Williams had written on his company blog about the Shadow Brokers, a mysterious group that had somehow obtained many of the hacking tools the United States used to spy on other countries. Now the group has replied in an angry screed on Twitter. It identified him correctly as former member of the National Security Agency's hacking group, Tailored Access Operations, or TAO, a job he had not publicly disclosed. Then the shadow brokers astonished him by dropping technical details that made clear they knew about highly classified hacking operations that he had conducted. America's largest and most secretive intelligence agency had been deeply infiltrated. Now, whatever they're saying, because we know this is coming from a biased source and that Q is telling us that this is an attack on him and his administration by the CIA, we can flip this, okay? So we can flip this narrative. So if Mr. Williams is probably not a good person, and probably this group that the shadow brokers who dropped technical details that made clear they knew about his highly classified hacking operations, they are probably on Trump's side. You see what I'm saying? We can take this and we can flip the narrative. So that's what I'm assuming. So I'm not going to get into all of this, okay? We know that whatever they're saying here is not what's happening. And what they are saying basically is that the NSA has been compromised because this shadow group has disclosed their hacking secrets and so forth. And it's a little bit more in depth than that, but this is New York Times, and you can look this up for yourself if you want to read more about it. It is security breach and spilled secrets have shaken the NSA to its core. Now, from what I understand, the NSA needed to be shaken to its core because there were rogue elements there, and they have been routing them out. At least from the Q post, that's what I would assume. So is that a bad thing? Well, this article is saying, yes, it's a bad thing. It's a very bad thing. Well, of course it would be a bad thing if you were a rogue agent. Yeah, I wouldn't want them doing that either. So I don't know. That's my Reader's Digest version of how I understand that. And if you want to look into that further, it's out there to look into. But let's go on to the next. Now, this is Sunday, the 12th of November as well. Q says, this is a direct attack. The article is disinfo, but made to send a message to the President of the United States. So that was written to send a message to Trump. And then Q says, you are witnessing history. Coincidence? God be with us all. Period. Q. So, interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to do this one too before I leave. Oh, maybe not. Let me see. Okay, we just finished this one on the 12th. Okay, let's go up to this one. Sunday the 12th. This is the same day. And Q says, New York Times / Clowns in America, which we know to be the CIA, article released today, Q Group is a direct attack warning regarding what is being dropped here. Read between the lines. Why was the article published today? The President of the United States has been briefed. New measures active and in place. Update the graphic. And of course, we know what the graphic is. The graphic is on 4Chan, and every time Q drops some intel, then they update that graphic to reflect that. But it is that. It's a graphic and it can't be read. That's why I have copied and pasted into a Word document that I can examine and put my own notes on. So Q is telling us that it was a direct attack, and it was a warning regarding what was being dropped on 4chan. He's saying, read between the lines. Why was the article published today? President of the United States has been briefed. New measures active and in place. Update the graphic. Now, these are, I don't know what they are. They are code for something. And I do believe that Q is communicating to people besides us there, that he's probably communicating with, you know, I don't know who he's communicating with, but this is not meant for us to understand. I don't believe that this is meant for us to understand, personally. Now, if somebody does understand it and they're able to give us details about that, then that would be great. But I'm not going to take time trying to figure out something that I don't feel like is meant for me or anyone else to understand, except for the person or persons that it's intended for. Then he ends it with Godspeed, period, Q. And I think that Godspeed there refers to this. Whatever he's telling this person or persons or agency, he's saying Godspeed. That's what I think. Okay. Now, this, well, I might as well go on to this one too, and get as far as I can here before I stop. Okay, this is November 13th, the day after, and interestingly enough, this is right before that helicopter crash with the, that has been, you know, they've wondered if it involved the Rothschilds or one of the Rothschilds. And it says, distress call to others will do your family no good at this stage. We know where you, the family, are at all times and can hear you breathing. Q. Now, if you read in the square brackets, and we do know that Q wants us to, it says LDR. And there's something missing here because I've seen another one that says LDR and then something else, and LDR, Linda Rothschild. People have surmised that that's what that means. I will come back to this in my next video because I want to look into this a little further, because I remember seeing another post that had more in it than just this. And I may not have grabbed the whole post, or I may have grabbed it from a place that's not the right place. So I want to verify that, and I will come back to it. But this post has been interpreted by just about everyone as meaning Rothschilds. That's who he's talking to there. And there was a helicopter crash on Rothschild's property not that long after that. So I think that's where I'm going to stop tonight. Because the next one is pretty long, and there was something else here. Okay, here we go. This one right here, this was nothing but an American flag pic, but it was a post by Q, and Q posted a picture of the American flag. I don't know what that was supposed to mean, other than maybe an encouragement, or perhaps there was even codes within that picture. I'm not sure if anyone's looked into that. I don't know how to do that. If anyone else does, that would be great. But that's what that post was. And then the next one was the one about the Rothschilds, and that's the one that we'll start on in the next video, because I want to be sure that I'm giving you the right post here. And we're going to break there for now. And I am going to come back tonight. It may be a little later tonight because I have some errands to run, but I'm going to come back. It'll probably be posted online before midnight, the second one. And then I'm planning on doing 2 tomorrow. So there you go. And I'm so appreciative of all you guys. I thank you for your emails, for your comments, and just because I don't get to your email or don't respond to it doesn't mean I haven't read it. I do read them. It's just that life can get away from me sometimes. So I hope you understand. It's not that I'm not reading them, and not that I don't appreciate them, because I certainly do. And I appreciate all you guys. I really do have wonderful, sweet listeners. So I will talk to you later. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.